But here's a couple stories on the same thing. From Breitbart, Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, Department of Homeland Security funding stuck in the Senate. It's up to the House. Now, if you've been following what's going on with this, you see that headline, then you know that the Republicans are all set to squander it again. With the version of a bill passed in the House, Department of Homeland Security Appropriations Bill. And remember now, let's go back to the Cromnibus bill back in December. This totally unnecessary Republican agreement with the Democrats to fund the government for the rest of this fiscal year, giving up their power to shape the budget for the next 9 months. They went ahead and gave the Democrats everything they wanted, except one thing. They withheld funding for the Department of Homeland Security. The Republicans did. Now, the reason that they withheld funding for DHS, they told us, was they were going to make a stand on Obama's executive amnesty. They were going to eliminate Obama's ability to do it by denying him the money to implement it. And that's what they told us, and they wanted applause, and they wanted kudos, and they wanted appreciation from us. But a number of us were suspicious of this because we had become aware of negotiations between Republicans in the White House to go ahead and make executive amnesty a reality after going through all of this supposed defunding, simply as a show to placate us. So what happened is the House passes a bill that does not authorize funding for the Department of Homeland Security in this budget that is now in place for the next 9 months. But that bill has to pass the Senate. And if it does pass the Senate, then Obama doesn't have the money to implement his executive amnesty. And Mitch McConnell is saying, well, we're kind of stuck here. We're not going to be able to pass this bill here in the Senate because the Democrats are continuing to, they're filibustering the thing and they're obstructing it, and we're just not going to be able to get it done. And so McConnell has sent word to Boehner that it's up to you, bud. You got to come up with a new version of this bill that the Democrats will support, and there is no such thing. There's no such thing as a bill that the Democrats are going to support that does not fund the Department of Homeland Security. McConnell told reporters yesterday, I think it's clear that we can't go forward in the Senate unless you all have heard something I haven't. And so the next move, obviously, is up to the House. We've had a week on it. We've had 3 cloture votes, all of which have not succeeded. It's clear that we can't get on the bill. We can't offer amendments to the bill. And I think it'd be pretty safe to say that we're stuck because of Democrat obstruction on the Senate side. Now, how many weeks did the Senate Democrats spend ramming through Obamacare illegally via budget reconciliation? So how come the Republicans give up so quickly? Why don't they just use budget reconciliation in this case? I mean, they tell us that they're serious about opposing Obama's executive amnesty, but they're not. See, that's what it all comes down to. This is the sad thing. I hate saying it, too. They don't want to stop Obama's executive amnesty. And so that's why they're not going to really work on this. Another piece, and this, let's see, where did I find this? Let me read the second page to find this. And as I didn't print the second page, I think this is hotair.com or Powerline. I'm sorry if I get it wrong, but the headline, are Senate Republicans hanging the House out to dry? House of Representatives passed legislation that fully funds the Department of Homeland Security, except it withholds money to implement Obama's illegal and unconstitutional immigration fiats. Republican leadership in the Senate has tried to bring the House measure up to a vote 3 times, but each time the Democrats have filibustered it. So the Department of Homeland Security is funded through February 27th. At that point, the money begins to run out. The Republicans hold the cards here. It is close to inconceivable that the Democrats would shut down the Department of Homeland Security by continuing to filibuster this appropriation. Yet there's a story in the National Journal, and if it's right, Senate Republicans may be preparing to fold a winning hand, and that's what the previous headline is McConnell DHS funding stuck in the Senate up to the House. Even the National Journal, which they're probably in tears too over Jon Stewart leaving, even they say the Republicans have a winning hand that they're about to squander. That the House came up with a good plan. That it's up to the Senate Republicans to stick to it. You want to know what's really happened here? This is going to make you sick. You want to know what's really happened here on the Senate side? I'll tell you exactly what's happened here. And Ted Cruz, you can find a video by Ted Cruz, and he spells this all out. It was recorded this past weekend. And he says that the Cromnibus bill, this lame duck session thing signed in December, set all of this up. Here was the idea. The idea was that rather than risk a wider government shutdown over Obama's amnesty, Republicans would focus on the Department of Homeland Security funding, and they would risk a limited shutdown of that department and that department only if Obama and the Democrats refused to scale back his amnesty intentions. But when it came down to the final counting, the Republicans were never really willing to shut down DHS either. And they made no secret of the fact the Republicans were bluffing, and they admitted they were bluffing. It's no different than when the Republicans told Obama and the media and everybody else that there would never be any impeachment hearings. Well, that's just a signal to Obama that the Republicans aren't going to stop him. They did the same thing here. All along, they have led everybody to believe that they're willing to shut down DHS. Not the whole government, but they're willing to shut down Department of Homeland Security in order to stop Obama's executive amnesty. But then they let it be known that they wouldn't shut down Department of Homeland Security. So the Democrats have no reason to support the Republican bill. The whole thing is an out-and-out joke, folks. The House passed an amendment to the Department of Homeland Security bill that not only would have blocked Obama's mega amnesty, but also the smaller dreamer amnesty that he imposed in 2012. So what they promised to use the power of the purse to stop Obama's executive overreach. And then they also vowed to show American voters looking at 2016 that the Republicans would never shut down the government. They're hell-bent, as you know, the Republicans, because of polling data and whatever, they are hell-bent. They want people to know that no matter what, if there's ever a government shutdown, it isn't them. They're not doing it. And so the House passes a bill that would defund the Department of Homeland Security and deny Obama the money to implement executive amnesty. The Senate, from the day one, agreed to go along with it. And then when it came time to actually go along with it, the Senate Republicans said, sorry, we can't get the bill past the Democrats, because they had telegraphed to the Democrats that they really weren't going to shut down the Department of Homeland Security, because they had said, we don't ever want to be accused of shutting down the government. They don't want to go into the 2016 presidential campaign year with any government shutdown in anybody's recent memory. So just like with Obama, there's no real Republican effort to stop Obama's executive amnesty. And I want you to remember, back in December, when they started debating this stupid budget bill, it was a mistake to go ahead and let the Democrats essentially authorize a budget for the balance of this fiscal year, because that gave the Democrats the power to spend the money as they wanted it spent for the next 9 months, even though the Republicans are going to be controlling Congress for those 9 months. The Republicans trying to mollify us. So don't worry, we're not gonna fund Department of Homeland Security. We're gonna hold out money from there so Obama can't do his amnesty. So now February has arrived when it's time to withhold money from DHS, and the Senate Republicans are saying, sorry, but we can't do it. And that's where we are. And the conservative media, the conservative blogosphere, pulling their hair out, trying to figure what the hell is going on. Why are the Senate Republicans so gonadless? What is it? It's sadly, it was predictable. But anyway, that's it. If you've heard about it, if you've been seeing little bits and pieces about it, that's what the bottom line is. As it stands now, there is not going to be, because the Senate is saying, Boehner, it's up to you to come up with a new bill that the Democrats over here will support. And Boehner is saying, sorry, we've already done the bill. It's your turn. The House Republicans, say what you want about them, but they are miffed that the Senate Republicans have not done one thing to help them in the past couple of years. And the Senate Republicans' excuse has been Harry Reid wouldn't let us do anything. But now they run the Senate. They can't hide behind Harry Reid now, but they're hiding behind something.